Hello, and welcome to your Online Strength Coach podcast, episode 52, RPE. I thought I would go off some Rick Ross to start off this podcast. And listen to the intro, the first 20 seconds we just heard, and I think I had the realization that Rick Ross is pretty terrible. Takes 2 hours to go through my shoes, such lyrics, such power, wow. Great, thanks for coming, Rick. This is episode 52. As you'll know, if you are a regular listener, and you listen to it on YouTube, because it's not yet up on iTunes, whoopsie, you will know that there's been a bit of a hiatus, as is probably not uncommon with this podcast, to be honest. There's no real reason for that hiatus. Just find it difficult to record, just with life, basically. I've started off, I've been doing in-person blocks, so with the University of Edinburgh, if you follow my Facebook, I think you'll see that I've advertised them. 3 different blocks, and do them on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night. And on top of work means that things like this are taking a bit of a knock, which I'm a bit annoyed at, to be honest, but it's kind of just the way it is. So I'm going to try create a bit more of a backlog, and I've definitely said this before, but I'm going to try create more of a backlog as I go and release it more sporadically, or release it more regularly. Sorry, not more sporadically. That'd be the direct opposite of what I want to do. Anyway, today's question is on the subject of RPE. If you've never come across RPE, let me give you a quick introduction. RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion. It's basically a subjective scale of 1 to 10 on how hard you think an activity or an exercise was. So in the context of, say, training a team sport or training an athlete, we use RPE. At work we use the Borg scale. Basically, it starts by about 3, it gets hard, and you rate how difficult it was from there on. We use RPE times time to come up with arbitrary measures of load. We use that to get a subjective reading on how the training loading is going, and it's been shown to be fairly accurate when placed against other metrics. When you place against global positional system, or GPS matrix, heart rate matrix, or what we'll talk to more than this, if you put it against like weights and percentages of RM, it kind of lines up roughly. Of course, it's not 100% correct. It is quite an inexact science. You can definitely pick holes in it. Something I have done in the past. But the more I'm working with it within the context of training a rugby team, the more I'm seeing value and use in it. Although it is a reactive measure. And reaction, I like to be proactive. I like to plan properly, plan appropriately, and then if you get that part of the process dialed in, then you don't need to be reactive, because things will go as they need to. Certainly within training with weights, this is definitely the case where you can meticulously plan, or you can plan volume loads, plan percentages, plan cycles to eke out to where you want to be. Now, within the context of training, or within lifting weights, RPE is championed most popularly by Mike Tushner of Reactive Training Systems. I have had another question to talk about more about that training system, which I will do. I'm going to have to admit I am aware of Mike. I know he's a good lifter. I know he certainly gets pretty good results with his clients, his online clients. I know he's smart. I know he's put a lot of thought into what he's done. So I'm not going to go into that discussion or go into that podcast without having done enough reading that I feel I will do justice on putting an opinion on it. Because at the minute I don't feel I would do it justice, to be honest. I think it would be unfair to Mike and his training system, which he's already put a lot of thought into. Well, anyway, within Mike Tushner's system, you will work off an RPE. So let's say, for example, you're doing sets of 3 at sets of 3 at a 9 RPE. So 9 RPE is basically, you have one more rep in the tank. 10 RPE is you have no reps left, you're done, you've maxed out. 8 RPE is 2 reps. There's a scale. I might actually link to a scale. There's like a picture scale of like lifting RPEs. How this lines up against percentages. This comes into the use of this is within what is fancifully known as the auto-regulatory periodization scheme, where basically you lift when you're feeling good, you lift heavier or you lift more volume, and when you're feeling like shit, you back off, lift less volume, and lift with less intensity. And the idea is that this more closely maps your body's natural recovery process. An example can be you can set out a training cycle. For example, you could maybe do Russian squat routine, and on 6x6, the most important workout, maybe you have the cold and you miss the workout and you're shit. And then that you could look at as, look, there's my 6 week cycle fucked because I missed the 6x6 workout, so I've failed the accumulation phase, so I've got to start again. I've got to do this, and it's a complete fuck up. So it's again, there is a plan. They do set out training cycles, but the training cycles they map. There's more leeway within the session. You can do more, you can do less, depending on how you're feeling within the training program. Now, this does work. It is a good system, or at least it seems to be, because it gets results. However, RPEs themselves, they are within the lifting context. If you look at, there's a study looked at where they try to come up with a 1 to 10 scale and how it ranked against bar velocity, and they attached I don't know if it was like GymAware, but it was a linear transducer onto the barbell, and they got the person to rate it from 1 to 10, I think, of how quickly they thought it moved. It was either how quickly they thought it moved or how hard they thought it was, and they basically came up with a relationship or an equation that based off I think this is a problem. I probably should have looked at the study, but they came up with an equation that basically, based off a 1 to 10 scale, they can either work out the percentage RM or they can work out the bar speed. I think it's probably bar speed. I'll need to look in that study for you to kind of find out which one it was. But yeah, they found a fairly decent relationship. Certainly, they were confident that the equation was fairly accurate. Of course, accurate within accurate within a margin of error, not completely 100% accurate, as nothing is. Yeah, so that's RPE basically. It's not really meant to be. Maybe to explain some of the context behind RPE, how it gets used, why it gets used, how it gets used in a lifting sense. I definitely will go into a more in-depth discussion, probably regarding Mike Tushner's training system. But as I said, there's going to be a lot more reading and whatnot. Well, I've done some stuff with Edinburgh where we've done training cycles based off bar speed rather than basing it off percentage. So indirectly, that's kind of the same thing. So let's say, for example, I set out a workout of 5 sets of 5. Let's use a training cycle that I've mentioned quite a lot in this podcast. It's quite a good training cycle. 5 sets of 5 is 75% RM, 5 sets of 4 at 80% RM, and 5 sets of 3 at 85% RM. Nice 3 week cycle that will give you a return. Like, not a really quick return, but you'll get a return. You will get stronger off that cycle. Now, what we did for a period with some players and with some exercises, some programs, we would say 5 sets of 5 at 0.8 to 0.9 meters a second. The bandings will change with exercises. Some exercises are faster than others, some exercises are slower than others. Typically, lower body's faster than upper body. For example, on a back squat, you will shift weights faster, typically. Or the bench press, you can grind more, you can lift with less velocity and still make the lifts. So there's a bit of sensitivity with that. But let's say we go 5 sets of 5 at 0.8 to 0.9 meters a second, then we go 5 sets of 4 at 0.7 to 0.8 meters a second, and then we say 5 sets of 3 at 0.5 to 0.7 meters a second. Now, what we do there in the rationale is, with a sport like rugby, where it's contact and you take a lot of knocks and you're not necessarily, like, the quality of training is extremely inconsistent in season. It allows them a chance to still train within parameters, but have a chance to, like, push when they're feeling good. So what will happen is, if I'm feeling good, and I'm more prepared, I'm ready to go, I'll wait, say, last week when I was feeling like shit, let's say 140 for a back squat, I was moving it in the 0.8 to 0.9 meters, and I was going, like, starting off at 0.9 and dying off at about 0.8 after the end of the 5 reps. Then at the back end of that, let's say next week, I'm in the 0.7 to 0.8 range, but I'm feeling real good and recovered. Maybe I'm lifting 160 for the 5 sets of 4, or maybe I'm lifting 170 for whatever reason. We just basically, whatever load they can keep in that band, that's the load we put on the bar, and that way that tracks their preparedness. And I actually felt this was a better way of doing it, and well, it's a more expensive way of doing it, but a better way of doing it because it tracks objectively how you are prepared specifically for that movement. Now, you can do it indirectly or subjectively, given a 1 out of 10 RPE scale, but I prefer where possible to remove the human element in everything that I can do, because the human element is inherently flawed. So if I can have an accurate measure, an accurate device, and use that to have not auto-regulatory but a regulatory periodization, because it's not auto-regulatory, it's not you deciding what's happening. There's parameters set, and I feel that would be a better way of doing it, and certainly something I will pursue in future. And see how it bears out. Anyway, that's elongated it slightly, but hopefully that's given you a bit more of an understanding of what RPE is, how it's used, and how it's used in a lifting context, and slightly shorter introduction on how it's used in, like, a sports condition or a sports performance context as a monitor of load, which is, I'd say, more useful in that context, but also a lot more flawed. Okay, this is the end of episode 52. I'm just going to be jumping straight on and recording episode 53. So I'll catch you then. This is Mark, signing out. That is seriously terrible.